I'm Tom Baker, this is Chasing Cars, and today is a very exciting day because we're here at Wakeford Park outside Sydney to drive the Hyundai i20N, one of my most hotly anticipated releases of 2021, but we have it basically 6 months early, ready to drive in a late stage prototype for you today. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing. We're going to be taking this car out on track, finding its limits and seeing where the i20N is going to fit in this class that includes cars like the Ford Fiesta ST and the Volkswagen Polo GTI. The i20N is shaping up to be a bit more serious than those cars, however. We've got about 150 kilowatt, 1.6 litre turbo, about 270, 280 Newton meters of torque, low weight. We've got an adjustable exhaust. We've got the full N custom setup inside. We've got a limited slip differential on the front axle. So this thing should be the real deal. But will it be better than a GR Yaris? Today we're going to start getting a few ideas. So I'm going to get helmeted up, jump into this car, and we'll start feeling it out on track. But before we do so, make sure to hit subscribe down below the video and hit that notification bell so you never miss any of our content. Alright, so i20N getting a really early opportunity here to drive this Fiesta ST Fighter hard on track. Now, obviously being camouflaged, this is still a prototype, but it's a prototype that's had a fair bit of work. So it's a little bit more free-flowing in terms of exhaust, and that's going to mean it sounds better, mainly. And what we're dealing with here is a 1.6 litre turbo 4-cylinder. So it is related to the engine that Hyundai use in the i30N line, the Tucson, etc. But just like the i30N engine, that 2 litre was fettled for service in a full N vehicle. That also goes for the 1.6. So there's proper N performance parts here, and that sees outputs on this engine lift to about 150 kilowatts of power and about 270 to 280 Newton meters of torque. Those figures are still being finalized, but importantly, it means this is a real little pocket rocket. And just listen to it. Oh, it sounds great, and it sounds really different to the i30N. The i30N's really throaty, kind of MIDI. This is more raspy, zesty. It's quick revving and it sounds quick revving. You know, it sounds really bubbly and alive. And the rest of the vehicle feels alive too. Whereas the i30N is saddled with quite a bit of weight relative to the segment that it's in, the i20N is really light. It weighs about 1,250 kilos, potentially even a touch less. And that's exactly how it feels. It is eminently chuckable. It reacts immediately to inputs on the steering, both at the front end and at the rear end. And if you guys have spent any time kind of watching my opinions on the i30N, you'll know that I kind of despair for that car to weigh 100 kilos less. And that's basically what I've been given here in the i20N. Much more than 100 kilo reduction though. Obviously it's a different car, it's in a different segment. We've got a simpler setup here, torsion beam rear end. We don't have adaptive dampers, but we have plenty of similar stuff to the i30N. We have a full-on custom mode where you can adjust your throttle response, adjust your exhaust, your steering weight, and also how hard the diff works. And in its toughest setting, that diff works hard. The amount of grip out of corners is astonishing. We're on Pirelli P0s, a specific Hyundai compound, just like the i30N, measuring 215/40 R18. And look at this long sweeper here around the back of Wakefield. It just grips and goes. The engine is really tenacious. Plenty of torque. Even the top end is actually remarkably impressive. Brakes are pretty good. This car is more fun to drive than an i30N by a solid 20 to 30% margin in my books. I am ecstatic that Hyundai have been able to secure this car for Australia, as it is a freaking riot. It sounds good, it's fast enough, definitely, and the handling is really engaging, really engaging. Of course, I can't speak to how this car rides and handles on the road just yet, which can often be quite different to on track, but we'll know that probably next year, close to the i20N's launch here in Australia. But on track, this is a really wonderful machine and an absolutely epic addition to the light performance car segment in Australia. I'm really looking forward to this coming onto the market, and who would have expected, you know, in a world where the domination of SUVs is effectively complete, that we would have the Fiesta ST manual only, the i20N manual only, and the GR Yaris manual only. Very exciting. Lots of competition ahead, lots of comparisons ahead. Additionally, while I can't show you the interior, I can at least tell you a little bit about it. So I'm sitting in bucket seats that are not the same as the i30N, but they're not that far off. They're comfortable, supportive, made of fabric on the inner and leather-like material on the outer. The driving position's really low, lower than the i30N it feels like. Same steering wheel as the i30N, so we have buttons for drive modes. Also got some buttons for some semi-autonomous safety tech, including lane keep assist I can see, and the interior is fully digital, so we have a digital gauge cluster for the driver, which looks really great. We have a large touchscreen here in the center, lots of stuff covered up by this camouflage tape, as you can see, but it feels pretty European. The i20 is a European Hyundai vehicle. You know, the gear shift is really nice. The armrest is adjustable, so you can actually get into a really good driving position. The pedals are placed really well. It's pretty good for heel towing. So initial impressions are that there's very little to complain about here. So that's a first look at the new Hyundai i20N, surely one of the most exciting releases of 2021 and really something to look forward to. Personally, I can't wait to assemble this car, the GR Yaris, the Fiesta ST and the Polo GTI in a group test to find out which is the best new light hot hatch, and personally I'm just happy that we can assemble such a diverse and varied group of cars in a world that is seemingly dominated by bigger and bigger vehicles. That's something to celebrate. Now make sure to let me know down below this video what you think of the i20N, and while you're there, hit subscribe and the notification bell.